Hello all, this is the Owl, and oh boy, do I have a humdinger for you today. But before we get going, a quick announcement and some serious business. Things have unfortunately changed a little on my side recently. Without going into too much detail, September marks the end of Mrs. Owl's PhD funding. And with Baby Owl being both adorable and needing stuff, it does mean that one of two things will need to happen. Either I need to get this channel bouncing and also hit the ground running when I start streaming in June, while also taking care of the babykins, or I'm going to need to go back to work full-time, herniated discs be damned. The deadline we've set is October, so I've got approximately 6 months. Let's see what happens. I'm going to be going all out, and I am both astonished and grateful for what we've accomplished together thus far. We'll have to see. Life, eh? Anyways, on a more positive note, a while back, we did a contest in regards to Baby Owl's birth weight, and the chap that won got to pick a topic. Then, to my mild horror of all things, he picked Berserk. So, what exactly is the problem? I mean, who doesn't love Berserk? Everyone loves Berserk. People who haven't even read a manga before love Berserk. Berserk is one of the most popular manga ever made, not just in Japan, but in the West. And, like so many other middle-aged manga fans, Berserk was one of the series that made me fall in love with the medium. And that's kind of the problem. See, Berserk has been covered in detail many times over. There are literally thousands, if not 10,000s of hours of materials on it. Fully animated 6-hour complete summaries and deep dives by people who are, actually good at making videos, as well as astonishingly detailed analyses of literally every aspect of the story, from plot to themes to characters to historical references. So, what in the name of Faputa's egg hole am I supposed to do with this? Well, a few years ago, the legendary mangaka Kentaro Miura passed away. If anyone remembers this from Final Fantasy, but never knew what it was, that's what it was. And after some hemming and hawing, his assistants and friends, particularly this man, Koji Mori, took over production of the manga. Mori is, himself, a genuinely fascinating man and a prolific mangaka, probably most famous for the brilliant Holy Land, which, we'll have to take a look at eventually, as it's both pretty dark and the best, second best martial arts manga that I've ever read. But Mori makes very different stories to the epic, sweeping dark fantasy of Berserk. So, how exactly are they doing? Is Newzerk, yes, I'm calling it that, deal with it, worth reading? Well, today we're going to see if we can't answer that question. But first, how did we get here? Berserk revolves narratively around a man called Gatsu, or Guts in English, and we start out in medias res, with him hunting some apostles, shape-shifting demons from MC Escher Hell that were once human, before making a Faustian bargain and sacrificing the person they love most to hell, granting them powerful monstrous forms, but damning their souls. And this first little mini-arc immediately establishes what kind of manga we're going to be in. It's going to be very dark, very bloody, very booby, and I did say very dark, right? We then cut back in time and see that Guts grew up as a sort of indentured servant in a band of mercenaries, where he was abused by his father figure in basically every way possible. If you've read this thing, you know the image that immediately comes to mind. Let's not. Before being driven out and almost murdered as a teen. Sometime later, he fell in with another group of mercenaries, the legendary Band of the Hawk, led by fan-favorite sexy man, Griffith. Oh boy, Griffith. An androgynous, handsome, ambitious, bisexual, and impossibly skilled warrior with a sinister side, so damn role-perfect that if Berserk was written today, the internet would probably be overloaded with oddly explicit fanfiction about... Wait, what was that? Oh right, the internet is overloaded with fanfiction about Gutsu and Griffith, because of course it is. Oh, and Gutsu and another hawk called Casca end up falling in love, although Casca also has strong, potentially stronger feelings for Griffith. And yes, this forms a wonderful little love triangle. Eventually, for complicated reasons, Griffith betrays the Hawks and offers them as a sacrifice to hell, becoming some kind of godlike apostle, joining a group called the God Hand. The Hawks are killed in a horrific fashion. Gutsu loses an arm and an eye, and for reasons I still don't understand, Griffith, rapes Casca in front of him. Why? Guts and Casca do eventually escape, but the experience leaves her mind completely shattered, and Guts living only for revenge against Hell and the treacherous Griffith specifically. From here, the story clips along as something very close to a classic wandering samurai tale. Guts goes to a place, meets people, kills demons, acts like a bit of a cock, then leaves and heads to the next place. And this goes on for a while, taking us right up to the, I guess you'd say, Act 3 of the manga, where it changes drastically. After being captured by the Inquisition, Guts winds up with a party of other characters following him around, including, Isidoro, the Jar Jar Binks of the story. And yes, this results in the manga undergoing an immense tonal shift, which of course turned out to be a little bit divisive, with some applauding the new dynamic and the evolution of the story, as well as the gradual lightening up of Guts as a character, and others deriding it and missing the old, darker Berserk. Naturally, I'm skipping a lot of stuff here, but we also see that Griffith becomes kind of the Antichrist, and Guts in turn undergoes significant character growth that, yeah, again, rather divisive, because when his chance arises, he is now more concerned with his friends and Casca's restoration than his vengeance. After the end of act battle against, you know what, if you haven't read the manga already, you probably should, so don't worry about it. Griffith manipulates reality, overwriting it with, nope, I've still got no idea what happened there, just Kentaro Miura's wibbly woo, I guess. But this does result in Griffith gaining his own kingdom at last. And if the manga had ended right here on this page, that would have been fine. But nope, it kept going, despite Miura's worsening health. Next, Act 4, where Guts and his party prepare to travel to the land of the elves, Skellig, to hopefully restore Casca's mind. They wind up fighting Cthulhu on the way. No, I'm not even slightly kidding. Make it to their destination, and at last, Casca's mind does get repaired. But with her memories returning, she suffers from overwhelming PTSD, triggered at the sight of Guts, which, yeah, is frigging tragic. That said, Act 4 was not especially well received, both due to lengthy hiatuses and it being kind of meh, with a lot of it feeling like the story is just running in place. Regardless, we do get one absolutely bug-nuts insane twist at the end of chapter 364, and that's where Miura died. It looked very much like Berserk was going to end right then and there on said cliffhanger. But of course, folks demanded more. And so, after a lot of hemming and hawing, Mori and Co. eventually agreed to take the reins and see the manga out to its conclusion. So, it's time to see where things went from here. Will Guts ever face off against Griffith? What exactly is the God Hand trying to do? Is this going to be another Wheel of Time situation where the chap who took up the story actually does it better? Let's take a look. Now, before we go any further, two things to keep in mind. Firstly, according to Mori & Co., their continuation of Berserk is based entirely on what Miura revealed to them about his plans, particularly to Mori. They will not be doing any further expansion or elaboration. Secondly, I'm not going to be doing a deep dive summary of everything leading up to this point beyond what I mentioned earlier. This is a long-ass manga, and if you're one of the half-dozen people left on the planet who haven't actually read Berserk before, I would recommend you go and remedy that as soon as possible, or watch one of those fantastic comprehensive deep dive videos on YouTube. There's a reason why it's so iconic. We're going to be diving right back into this sucker though. So, at the end of the last chapter, that black-haired kid who was constantly showing up, you know, the one that myself and I think all of us thought was going to turn out to be Casca and Griffith's unborn child, turned out to be somehow Griffith himself? Nope, not asking questions, except for, how does he always show up near them? As you'll see in a bit, it's implied that he's being flown around by Zod, so how did that happen? Regardless, we open right back up with Casca's brand gushing blood in the presence of Griffith. Guts moves into attack, but his slash whiffs right through Griffith as if he just had a really bad lag spike. So this is what everyone means when they say that Griffith can't be hurt. The bastard can phase. Uh-oh. Shirk and Farnese realize that Griffith is something called a maelstrom. Wait, didn't he have gravity powers? Who cares? But dude, why are you being a dick to Guts? Like, until now, you've always been nonchalant, and sacrificing your friends was basically just business. But now you might as well be twirling a moustache. Anywho, Guts prepares to strike again, but Zod intervenes. Oh yeah, here's a final bout that's been a good while coming, but it lasts about 2 panels. Boo! Griffith pops up near Casca. Guts, who somehow has given Zod the slip, goes for him again. Actually, really not a fan of the art here. Guts looks a touch cartoony, but this time Griffith doesn't phase, presumably protecting Casca. He just takes the strike Aizen style without any visible harm. Oh joy. Don't tell me the writers have introduced a literally unbeatable baddie and have written themselves into a corner, Uchiha Madara style. Also, Griffith, mate, You sacrificed this poor woman and also raped her, and we've already established that you regret absolutely nothing. So why in the name of Zeus's butthole are you protecting her? Also, aha, I think those are his gravity powers again. Anyway, he wrecks the island and leaves carrying Casca for some bloody reason. No, I've got no idea what's going on. With Griffith departing, a bunch of big slimy spoopies rise up and start attacking everyone. Oh crap, run away, Ma, you know what happened last time. Then the skeleton knight appears and tells them that, again, I think Griffith's presence mucked with reality and caused fissures to open. And now these things are coming through, or waking up, or something. Roger. Back at the harbour, the chaps on the ship see these spoopies heading for them. Is it just me, or do these things resemble that nonsense from the Holy See arc? And they do roughly the same thing to flesh too. Zod flies off with Griffith and an unconscious Casca, as Guts looks on in horror. Yeah, that kind of sucks, mate. And with the last few years of the manga's run basically made pointless in the span of a chapter, the island starts breaking apart. A now despairing Guts realizes that even with his crazy new powers, he can't do jack diddly squat to Griffith, resulting in him completely breaking down. Suddenly the art got pretty good again. With Elfheim destroyed, the Elf Queen and Isma vanish, rendering another character completely pointless, and I actually kind of liked Isma. But wait, how are the elves still there? And of course I'm talking about Puck and Ivalera. I know she was born outside, but he's from Skellig. Whatever, I have no idea. Anyways, on the ship later, everyone's feeling understandably bummed out. Mulder reveals that Guts was rescued, but is now basically catatonic with despair. And she reveals that she's worried about him going on a rampage. But she needn't have worried. We soon see that Guts, for the first time ever, has cast away his sword, having lost all will to fight or even struggle. Damn, man. I'll admit that while I didn't love this reunion, and some of the art's a bit janky, this moment kind of hits hard. Shirk finds Guts, but there isn't much point. He is now a broken man. Only okay. I'm not sure what's going on here, but she looks through his memories, sees Griffith, and before she can say anything, she gets the sense of bared fangs, dripping blood, and breaking chains. As a way too smug-looking Griffith returns to Falconia with Casca in hand, it appears the long-imprisoned hound, representing Guts' uncontrollable kill everyone and let God sort them out rage, is finally breaking loose. And that's where it ends for now. It sounds like we're already looking down the barrel of a short hiatus between chapters, but fortunately it should be more a matter of weeks than a matter of years, as would happen with Miura. Still, it's entirely possible that there will be another chapter before this comes out. Not much I can do about that, I'm afraid. So, what do I think? Is this a worthy follow-up to one of the most iconic manga series of all time? Well, welcome back. As to the last question I sneakily dropped just before the ad break, short answer, yes with an if. Long answer, no with a but. On one hand, the art is okay. It's certainly not the absolutely jaw-dropping stuff we had previously, Hell, even the bad parts of Berserk were bloody gorgeous to look at. And there are 1 or 2 panels that feel kind of off, but it's not awful. The characters do seem to at least act somewhat like themselves. The pacing's pretty decent, if a little curt, and I kind of did like the way this ended. A downer note definitely suits this series. I would still like to know what the hell those things were, for instance, and what the deal with Griffith and the kid is. On the other hand, see, it's a little hard to separate the criticisms out here, as Miura's work definitely suffered over the past while. Particularly everything after the no, snap doesn't work here, does it? Slash? Slice? Yeah, particularly everything after the slice was extremely meh. So all the Elfheim stuff and Isma just poofing and Casca getting grabbed immediately after her restoration does feel, at least in part, like an effort to get things back on course. But it's definitely abrupt. Again, it does feel like they're trying to get the story back on track, both narratively and tonally, and drive us a bit towards the climax, but maybe pace yourselves, chaps. You've got a bunch of stuff still to cover. Godhand, plus Griffith, plus Casca, plus Ricket, plus fixing reality. Let's not rush this. But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't hate Berserk, but I'd be lying if I said I loved it. It's a touch soon for me to declare that the follow-up is a load of old horse droppings, or that it's a worthy continuation, but right now I'm frustratingly on the fence. Keep in mind though that I'm not a huge fan of where the story went after the Lost Children arc, and the follow-up stuff is much more in the new Berserk headspace. Regardless, as always, take my opinions with a whole fistful of salt. So, that's Berserk. Thus far, emphatically okay. It wasn't the abomination I was worried about, or the awesome source that I was hoping for, but we're still in the early days, so it could go either way. So, what do you think about Berserk? Why don't you let me know in the comments? Before we finish for the day, I want to give a huge thanks, as always, to my fantastic patrons: Astrixic Gaming, Piece of Yeast, El Espresso, Cheerful Satanist, Starwin Marwin, Hilo J, Jacob Ramsey, Crazy, James Bakes Bread, Wargle, Kel Core, Lance Goebel, Paul Norberger, Rafferty, Aaron Arnold, The Hedgehog Gamer, Simone, and XTC Pill. If you want to see more like this, why not stick around? Subscribe, bell, you know the drill. If you want to hear me say your name, get early access to most of my videos, unlock some fun perks on our Discord, and, you know, make sure that I can keep doing this, why not take a look at our Patreon? All links, as always, are in the description. Take care, my friends, and cheers. This is the Owl, signing off.